Good evening. Let us discuss today's newspaper, that is 25th July 2015, the Saturday newspaper. Here the first one is related to immigration policy. Now if you talk about the remittances, India is the country which is receiving highest remittances to the extent of $70 billion, followed by China, and the third distant competitor is Philippines, which is getting near closely $28 billion. So it means that Indians going abroad, they are sending money back to the motherland, and this money is strengthening the current account balance in India. So in this context, what are we giving them back is the major question. Now, if you go for the Philippines, the embassy of the Philippines is very active towards protecting its immigrants on the overseas. In India, there are many challenges. Now, you can see this topic not only from immigration policy or immigration perspective. For any policy in India, these are the major challenges. So just don't confine yourself to the understanding of this policy. Just take this framework to understand our challenges of any policy in India. If you don't know anything about a policy question in your examination, try to have this broad framework to answer that particular question. Now, the immigration policy, the first thing is, the challenges if you talk about, what is information challenge? So what is this availability of information means? Now, how many immigrants from India are working abroad? What is their social status? Everything, the government shall possess the information. Now, World Bank given data and Ministry of Indian Overseas Affairs, the data of both of them do not collude with each other. It means information deficit for proper immigration policy is a major bottleneck. And next is the regulatory law in India. It is still Immigration Act of 1983. This Immigration Act of 1983, it divides the passports into ECNR and ECR. So it means, what is this ECNR and ECR means? So immigration check required and immigration check not required. So it means where the immigration check is required, he has to go through certain additional process of regulation and permissions before he can immigrate from India. Now, to get these additional permissions, etc., that is becoming a point of exploitation to him. So, whenever immigration clearance is required for a particular passport, then he is a victim of a travel agent, victim of the passport agent, even victim of the passport clerk. So that is the reason why this regulatory law has to be immediately amended. And this ECNR and ECR differences, which are meant to protect the ordinary workers who are going towards the Gulf, is making them as a victim in the process. Anywhere the government's over-regulation, it will give a chance for the corruption and also inefficiency and also red tapeism. Here this is not an exception in this case. On the other hand, the coordination challenges, overlapping responsibilities, lack of clarity on the roles, and added to that, overstepping into each other's roles of performance. These are the common things in every ministry. Now across the world, the immigration issues are determined by only one department. In India, 3 ministries handle this. One is Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Overseas Indians, and next is External Affairs Ministry. So if you can divide the life of an immigrant into 3 stages: before, while, and after. Before means before he departs from India. So while it means that after the transit into a new country and before he settles in a new country. Third thing is when he returns back to India, what is his status is. Now, these are the 3 things we need to talk about. Before going, there is no proper procedures which are being clarified to him. And also there are no safety mechanisms for Indians who are getting exploited abroad, especially in the Gulf. And next is, the people from here who are being employed into the labor work in Gulf, they are getting little assistance from our embassies. So every embassy will have a labor attaché, and they are very poorly manned in India. And the cost of immigration is increasing due to unnecessary processes which are involved. So, on the other hand, when they come back, the government of India has no rehabilitation policy or a mechanism to properly use the skills which they gained when they are in the other country. So these are the challenges related to the immigration. Just next is a subsidy and some questions. Now the government was trying to extend this interest subvention to the agricultural sector. Now recently there is a report which was published. So the Center for Policy Research of Hindu is also a part of it. What it says is the total amount of interest which was or else loans which are being taken by the farmers, it is more than the percentage of the farmers if they have the total financial inclusion. It means that if you take 40% of the farmers on the upper side, around 29% it is, if they have institutional financial access, so by the estimated means it is 120%. It means that much of the amount which is meant for the agricultural loans, it has been used for some other purposes. Now, if you take the agriculturalists or farmers are taking the loans, how they are using these particular subsidies? Either they are using to repay the loan of the money lender, or two, they are using it for consumptive purpose, or they are using to reinvest that in the banks as a deposit to gain the better interest rate. So it means that when a subsidy is given or a benefit is given by the government, it is not an end in itself. Making the benefit to reach to the right people, that is what is the need. So the government has to make sure that the subsidies are rightly directed. And next is RBI and its independence. Now RBI managing the monetary policy, government managing the fiscal policy and growth, always at conflict with each other. Recently we have saw the Public Debt Management Agency, which was vehemently opposed by the RBI governor. Now the government, along with the international standards, it wanted to bring in MPC in its financial code, Indian Financial Code. MPC stands for Monetary Policy Committee. Now in this Monetary Policy Committee, both the members from RBI side and also the government side will exist. They will determine the priorities for the monetary policy. As of now, the existing system is the Technical Advisory Committee, and RBI governor enjoys a veto over there. But in the new system, the government wants to have a domination through its members, and the veto power which is given to the RBI governor, the government want to do away with. It means the objective of the government is to gain the control over monetary policy, where the unlocked capital in the banks can be used or released to provide for the growth potential. But in the process, we are forgetting one thing. So the stringent norms of our banking sector that have protected Indian banking system from collapse, from Greece-like crisis happening in India. So it means, so the banking sector, RBI as a regulator, it shall have its independence towards determining the policy priorities. It shall act as a chain or a brake to the uncontrolled, unregulated growth of the Indian economy. Then only economic growth can be smooth and desired. That's what my conclusion will be. The prudency, economic prudency, is necessary for every country, every individual, every family. And RBI, she's doing the right job in Indian context. It's my opinion, you can differ from that. Next is the Sampath's article. Now, the problem with the growing appointments and the strikes against these appointments are this. Mr. Gajendra Chauhan to Mr. Sudarshan Rao, every appointment is questioned, it is criticized that the loyalty is becoming more important than efficiency. Loyalty to the individuals, to the something called as Hindutva, that is becoming more important than the efficiency or ability of an individual. That's what is being questioned. So the major challenge, he goes deep into the inabilities of the right wing being properly established in the country. So the right wing intellectual, there is a huge deficit. The reasons he explored are, one is The right-wing politics are very narrowly defined in India, surrounding a religion. Ramachandra Guha in this context differentiates between intellectuals and ideologues. Intellectuals, they create the knowledge. Ideologues, they perpetuate a faith or a religion or a way of life, etc. In this case, the right wing in India is filled with ideologues where they demean an intellectuality. If you talk about Amartya Sen, so they try to demean this intellectuality rather than creating its own intellectuality in India. The right wing intellectuality in India is dominated by Hindutva. And the second thing is, across the world, the left and center left, so the first premise on which they build their intellectuality is based on class conflict. In India, the caste, the leftists, they should have taken the caste as an important measure to fight against, but almost all the cases, they ignored the caste. So they undermined the caste. It means that the people on the leftist and left center, they themselves behaved as a conservatives, which have left the right conservatism, rightist side in India from growing. So these are the things which he argue about. Next, these are the important articles today. So I did not find very much important because articles in essence are a continuation of the past. Now, try to understand, try to talk on one question. In India, the policy process is filled with more intellectual and information gaps. Discuss. The policy framework in India is filled with intellectual and information gaps. Discuss. Thank you very much.